immense pride and gratitude that I invite the Honorable Finance Minister of India, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman ji, to kindly address us on the occasion of our 90th Foundation Day.
Namaskar, and I start with a greeting. What a pleasure it was to be here today when you're completing 90 years. Chairman and Managing Director, Mr. Saxena, Secretary, Department of Financial Services, Mr. Nagaraju, distinguished guests, all members and staff, officers of Bank of Maharashtra, I commend you for these 90 glorious years of service to the banking sector. You have achieved this milestone, passing through various stages, and those have been beautifully explained by both the compare as she ran the program through, and also the Secretary, Department of Financial Services. But it is a history which is so aligned, and also with the growth of banking sector in India. So I will briefly mark the milestones that you have covered over the years, just for us to recapitulate. So 1934-35 is when you establish yourself, and as rightly the Secretary paid respects and homage to the founders, visionary founders. Pune in that sense has had so much of contribution to India's history. It stands out for several things. The thought leadership that Pune provides. It's always been a source of inspiration for newer, leadership-infused thought which guided our freedom movement and which also guided, taking the case of Bank of Maharashtra, the banking revolution that got built up in the private sector. And the visionary leaders were Professor V.G. Kale, who was also incidentally a member of Indian Tariff Board, and he was a known educationalist. He also is now known, not just now, but has been for some time known for the contribution that he's made in setting up this bank. Shri D.K. Sathe, businessman and prominent social worker of this area, and Shri B.M. Gupte, chairman of the Pune Central Cooperative Bank Limited, the three of whom came together to form this, what at that time would have been a small effort towards setting up a bank, today completes 90 proud years. In 1944, you attained the status of a scheduled bank, and in 46, outside of Maharashtra, you set up a branch in Hubli, in what is today Karnataka. And in 58, you were listed in Bombay Stock Exchange. Listing happened in 1958. And in 1969, Bank of Maharashtra was nationalized along with 13 other banks. And since then, a nationalized scheduled bank is Maharashtra, Bank of Maharashtra. So the Bank of Maharashtra also has 3 RRBs, and these RRBs today have penetrated into the rural hinterland and contribute to the access to bank in those difficult areas where large banks find it difficult to establish themselves. And the Grameen Bank, Marathwada Grameen Bank, which is headquartered in Nanded, Aurangabad Jalna Grameen Bank, and Thane Grameen Bank. So you have 3 RRBs. So you actually are a good, typical public sector bank today with features governing a public sector bank where inclusivity was looked at as a virtue and is continuing to be a virtue. Inclusivity, which you have defined through the team of all women volleyball persons who have now become part of the bank, but inclusivity in the sense of financial inclusivity to areas which were otherwise difficult to be accessed. So today, marking the 90th Foundation Day, I'm extremely happy to be here in this glorious city of Pune with its rich history, culture, music, Sanskrit, banking, and what more can you add to Pune? It's one of those rich, very well endowed cities. Banking is also one feather in its cap. Particularly Bank of Maharashtra's performance in the last few years, last decade I would say, has been exceptional in the way in which Secretary, Department of Financial Services gave out the data. It is obvious that in many indicators, you're performing much above the expected levels. Again, this is something which is worth recalling and capturing for all of us to consciously look at it. So the gross NPA in Bank of Maharashtra as of 31st March 2024 stood at 1.88%. Average of all the public sector bank is 3.47. I seek the pardon of other bank officials who are seated in the audience that I compare it like this, but it is, and I'm sure the Secretary will agree with me, it is said with an intention of healthy competition. It is not beyond that, but if Bank of Maharashtra could achieve it, I'm sure the rest of the banks can also achieve it. If I'm not aware, they've already achieved it very well. But I think it's a record worth recalling when you're celebrating your 90th Foundation Day. Net NPAs declined of Bank of Maharashtra, net NPAs declined to 0.2%. Average of PSBs, average of all the PSBs is 0.76%. You know, Chairman, Managing Director, Mr. Saxena, I would require the compare, the lady who's running the program so smoothly and nicely, to give them a little, I know, signal from Piche to say, it's about your bank that I'm talking, and you're doing well. Provision coverage ratio, Bank of Maharashtra 98.34%, average of all public sector banks is 93%. Net profits for the year, net profits for the year. I'm glad the media is here. They should hear the performance of our public sector banks, and being here on the 90th Foundation Day, the performance of Bank of Maharashtra. We need the media to talk about our success stories, the work which our tireless banking staff are doing for the success of the bank, and which has a direct impact on our economy, as a result of which the economy also attains a certain level of buoyancy. And therefore, I recall each one of these points in a sort of taunting way, because if you perform, today you clap and you have applauses, but you have to remain there and perform better. That's a bigger challenge. So the net profits for the year, which ended 31st March 2024, increased by nearly 56% to 4,055 crores year on year. Total business grew by 16% year on year, and it has touched 4.74 lakh crores. Total deposits, and this is very important indicator for me, you need to gather deposits. Total deposits increased by over 15% year on year to 2,70,747 crores. RAM, as we call it, retail, agri, and MSME businesses. Retail, agri, and MSME businesses grew 24.21%. These are all year-on-year numbers. Retail advances grew by 19.10% to 51,727 crores. MSME advances grew by 26.69% year-on-year basis, and it has touched 42,117 crores. So every member of the bank should take pride in this success. And Bank of Maharashtra continues to forge ahead toward an even brighter future. I wish them all the very best on this 90th Foundation Day. And it is only right, again, I don't know if it has happened because you're calling the finance minister after the July budget, but it's one pleasant surprise for me that what was announced in the budget for all banks to follow, Bank of Maharashtra, and I would like to believe, since I'm being called, fulfilled one of the budget announcements in setting up an instrument of assessing MSMEs based on their cash flow and not on other considerations. Because MSMEs have a unique feature in India, and it is only the cash flows and the business cycle which explains how they would require bank assistance. You have taken that budget announcement seriously and come up with also a booklet which you made me release. I'm extremely happy and grateful that one of the announcements made in the Parliament is already fulfilled. RBI's Financial Stability Report, which came in June 2024, indicates that the Indian economy and the financial system remains very robust. Banking sector's health is also indicated there. Scheduled commercial banks, both of public and private, their gross NPA ratio fell to a multi-year low of 2.8%, and the net NPA ratio to 0.6%, both of public sector and private sector. A lot was spoken about the capital adequacy ratio. I'm not getting into that. I think what I'm also pleased to see, one of the brochures which we've released today is of the vision Viksit Bharat, and you have laid out for yourselves your path to attain that Viksit Bharat by 2047, a vision for yourselves, which, when implemented, is sure to give us the collateral impact on the society. The bank performing well has an impact on everybody else in the society. The vision of the Honorable Prime Minister for 2047, the Viksit Bharat vision, has key pillars, and I'll take this opportunity to just briefly mention about them. Economic growth, social progress, environmental sustainability, and good governance. banks will have to play a crucial role in driving the agenda set by the Honorable Prime Minister. And by your role, we are going to give greater momentum to achieving this dream. So where should this role and how should this role play out? By giving a strong momentum in infrastructure, ensuring availability of need-based funding to MSMEs, which is what your brochure is all about, bringing unbanked population under the ambit of formal banking channels, providing insurance net to all citizens. Although here I would think that institutions which are dedicated for insurance purposes will be doing that. And I'm not sure if you run an insurance wing also for Bank of Maharashtra. However, insurance cover, which the government scheme provides through Atal Pension Yojana, Jeevan Jyoti Suraksha Bima Yojana, and so on. Those also are insurances. Insurances for the poorest of the poor. And that public sector banks will have to have a very big role to play in taking those poor sections along when we talk of insurance cover. Just to highlight the impact of digital banking towards greater access to everyone and also to have a greater transparent and speedy approach towards Viksit Bharat. I think what is changing the Indian banking landscape is technology. And what it provides is a secure and easy to navigate digital banking experience to all the customers. And it is there that there is a lot of work for you. Easy to access and easy to navigate. So your digital tools, your platforms, your access through digital mode will all have to be customer friendly. And above all, they have to be robust, reliable, and very user-friendly, but also adequately firewalled. You cannot have a digital system which somewhere gets hacked and the entire system and the trust which is laid on it getting compromised. So you need to have a robust and resilient system for which every now and then you need to make sure that the firewalls are adequate. Any emergency drill which you need to do, what if situation, so you know to handle if there is an emergency in terms of digital insecure incidents. Also, how the fintech area is helping us is also going to help you. The unified payment interface, which is the UPI, the real-time payment system, which we have brought in this country, which was launched in April 2016, has played an immense role in retail digital payments. I'm sure most of you are aware that 45% of all real-time digital payments in the world, all across the world, 45% of all real-time digital payment happens in India. So the bank should actually be looking at prospects to widen that, expand that deeper, make it deeper. So UPI is no longer just for India. 7 different countries are using UPI. So your businesses are not going to be digitally run from India elsewhere, because now with the digital, no borders are going to be big enough borders, strong enough borders. You can always reach any geography. But here, already 7 countries have taken up UPI for their use. Our neighbors, Bhutan, Nepal, and Sri Lanka. Distant friends, France and Mauritius, and also Singapore and UAE are all using the UPI. So you have businesses which can come to you and businesses that you can take forward, because UPI is spreading its wings and you can fly along with them. We need to have the digital footprints which are being generated completely tapped so that your business prospects, the banking business prospects, are expanded on the backs of UPI's digital footprints which are now available. So I would think the potential for the Indian banking system rests a lot on this one particular feature. There are several others. You are creating many more. But this one feature of UPI actually giving us the advantage is something which you can plan for your future. I've spoken about technology adoption, and adoption for risk mitigation is one very important feature, because your risks, as I said, are very high as you benefit from the technology's advantages. You need to periodically learn to mitigate your risks and do better on customer services, credit assessments, and identification of frauds using technology. I also would think customer service using technology can be a lot more easier. Big data analytics can be used for 3 specific things, which I'd like to highlight to you for your consideration. You can offer customized products. You can also look at particular groups that you need to target. And above all, analyzing the raw data, you can also predict where businesses are undergoing stress and handhold them to come out of the stress rather than wait for them to collapse. If the business lives, your business prospects are surely to go up. If the business falls or fails because we didn't handhold them in time, it's going to affect every one of us. And therefore, without really taking too much of your time, this is a glorious time for you. 90 years is simply a very big achievement. Living through the 90 years, contributing to India's growth, and making sure that your performance in terms of compliance and also in terms of serving the society is kept high. One last word on compliance. I think I was glad to hear that you appointed all necessary officials from the market, paying them the market required salaries so that you can look at risks, you can look at technology adoption and so on. Compliance is a very important aspect, and I take it as my duty to mention about compliance. You should ensure that you're continuously monitoring your compliance, that build trust in the customers, and the regulators feel confident saying you're never on the side, never on the wrong side, but you're always building confidence both for the regulator and for the customers. So with this, I thank the bank for giving me an opportunity to talk to you, inviting me to share this moment of joy. I utterly enjoyed the 3 different areas in which you have done beyond banking: the wildlife conservation, supportive of women in sports, and making sure that the humane side of attending to pets, where you've sponsored all these 3. I really appreciate the bank's board and the bank for this dimension of your social commitment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, madam. Ladies and gentlemen, Hindi में एक मुहावरा है, 4 चांद लगा दिए. With your permission, may I say, madam की उपस्थिति ने आज 90 चांद लगा दिए. Once again, thank you very, very much. Thank you very, very much for your presence. जोरदार तालियों के साथ अभिनंदन करें. Thank you very much. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद for your presence here at the 90th Foundation Day of the Bank of Maharashtra, and thank you very much to esteemed Secretary Sir. As we draw to the close of this momentous occasion, ladies and gentlemen, it is my duty and privilege to express our heartfelt gratitude to our distinguished guests, speakers, and attendees. A special thanks once again to our Honorable Finance Minister, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman ji, and the Secretary of Department of Financial Services, Shri M. Nagaraju ji, for gracing this event.